I think at this point, like, we should be hopping in the car and driving there right now to make tech and do everything. I don't know. I think we're calling it, boys. I don't know. I don't know if old Duke was set out to make this journey. I don't know what we're doing here. Every piece of me wants to go. Every other piece of me, like 50-50, like right in the middle. We shouldn't go right now because of how much work this thing needs. And in order for us to make it to the event, it's 5 o'clock in the morning. The car needs finished wiring, headlights, taillights, brake lights, turn signals. The windshield wiper motor isn't even in here right now. That needs wired. We need to put windshield wipers on it. The hood's not on it. Serpentine belt, which we need to pick up at the auto parts store in the morning. The whole firewall is not sealed, so there's holes completely everywhere. The shifter is not in the car. The seats are not in the car. The harnesses are not in the car. Alternator has not been wired. We haven't bled the cooling system. We haven't done that. We need to wire the radiator fan. We don't have a fuel gauge. We don't have the trailer hitch on it. And in order for us to legitimately like make it there on time, we have to leave here at 7, which is in 2 hours. The parts store doesn't even open until 7. We could still make it there and run a pass before 10, but that means that I don't sleep until we leave, which is probably gonna be about another 6 or 7 hours. And at the point where I'm at right now, like I felt like I just hit like a giant like brick wall. I don't know, part of me has thought about taking a nap on the creeper and just like waking up and going for it again. Part of me wants to go home and sleep, but if I sleep, like I'm gonna sleep. The plan as of right now, unless anything changes, is we're gonna skip the first 2 days because those are the furthest away. We also need to tune it. There's no tuning, and a big one is that the map sensor that we have it's a 4-bar map sensor. Plug is different. It won't plug in. I don't think I could really modify it to work. So this OEM map sensor is just a single bar, just 1 bar. It is so freaking close. I think I'm gonna take a little bit of a nap. We'll finish up this video and you guys are gonna know what we decided here in a minute. See you in the morning, or now. So we went home and slept. I slept for about 2 hours. Got home, took a shower, sat there. Jamie actually woke up and we talked about it for a little bit. Went to bed at 7 in the morning, woke up at 9. So didn't really get a whole lot of sleep. So at that point it was already too late to make it to Great Bend, Kansas, just because the length of the drive and the amount of stuff that we had to do to this thing. Also, I was still waiting on some parts. I was waiting on a map sensor. I actually ordered a 3-bar map sensor that got delivered to the thing. It's off of Duramax, so hopefully I'll be able to scale that correctly and get that working. Picked up some parts, ate some lunch, came here to the shop, and then basically cleaned it up. You couldn't even really walk in here with how much crap there was just completely spread everywhere. We almost hopped in the Ranger and sent that on race week. But yeah, super bummed this morning because I woke up and I was scrolling through Instagram and I seen all my, my friends and everybody there at the event. And I'm like, man, I should be there with this thing, like that was the whole plan, was to make it there with this thing. We tried super hard. We got so far, but in the end, it didn't really matter because we didn't make it. So now, it is the next day. I think technically I could wake up in the morning and make it to Kearney, Nebraska, which is the next stop, if I get everything done with it tonight. As of right now, it's 6 o'clock at night already. There's still a ton of stuff to do. I guess one of the first things we need to do is install this shifter cable. So we got this B&M sport shifter, just wham bam. Thank you, ma'am. We have the shifter cable set up. We have all this stuff right here. This is the first time I've ever actually really messed with like automatic transmission stuff, so it's kind of weird learning about all the things and the stuff. I guess we just take this guy, stuff it through the hole, stick that unit on there. So now we got a piece of a shifter. Got the little rubber grommets that go on this thing. I'm just glad that it runs now. And honestly, we also didn't tell them what it needed. So as you guys seen in the very last clip of yesterday's video, we got this thing started. We thought it was gonna turn out in first try. So as soon as we were cranking it, what happened is the switch power. So as soon as you go ignition, you have like switch power, which is when the ignition is on and running, but then you have power, some stuff like on a lot of cars, like when you crank it, it turns off like the headlights, the radio, a lot of like power draining devices on it, just so it could give the starter full power. What happens is there's 2 wires coming off of the switch. Both of them are yellow. When you crank it, the switched ignition goes away. And as soon as you let off the key, it comes right back. So that's what was happening. So as soon as I got in the car, I thought it was close to a dead battery, because when we were cranking it, I seen like 8.9 volts, and I was reading that if you don't have like 9 volts and over 100 RPM, that it won't even like fire the injectors or do any of the spark plugs. I added the jump box on it, cranked it really fast, and I was watching the lights on the ECU, and as soon as I would crank it, the lights would turn off, and as soon as I would let off, they would turn back on. And I was like, no, that's an issue. So I literally just took a quick little wire, ran it straight to the battery, cranked it up, bam, fired up literally just instantly. I guess that was the issue. I know a lot of people were talking about like the TPS auto set. So that is literally the first thing that the Holley tells you, like when you open the program, it's like, will not run, will not do this, like without the TPS auto set like set. TPS auto set was good. We could see throttle percentage and it just wasn't syncing, but it was just crazy because you would go crank it and then it'd be back. Maybe it was just too fast. We need to get some more transmission fluid in here. We need to get the shifter hooked up to where we could actually shift this thing, and then we could drive it. So we got shifter kind of installed. There's a big hole right here, so I just used some aluminum tape, kind of taped it up for now just to keep wind and dust and bugs and sand out of our eyes when we're driving down the road. Cut this little shifter thing. There's actually a neutral safety switch on here, so I need to get that wired in. All right guys, so Charles left a little bit ago and I just finished installing the shifter, and then I've basically had this thing running in the shop with the doors open and fans blowing for about the past 30 minutes, and I'd like to show you guys how nice this thing starts. But first, show you the shifter. So we have the shifter down here. It's just chilling. It is actually wired up to the reverse or the neutral safety switch as well, so it will only start if it's in park or neutral. We have a little fuse box right there in the front. I have a fuse coming off of that for the power for the light that's in there, which is actually a 194, and I actually ran that. I'm basically using that as the resistor for the alternator right now because it didn't have like the plug or the little thing to, you know, in the Holley, they kind of let you do that yourself. Had to wire in the alternator for the Holley. I ran a power cable to the back so the alternator is actually charging the battery as well. I hooked it up to where if we kill the kill switch, it'll actually kill the whole car. It won't just keep running on the alternator. So key ignition right here. You can tell this thing definitely sounds pretty cool. So I did the little mod to it already. When I revved it before, you couldn't really hear the turbo a whole lot, so I pulled out the little speed sensor. That lets it, like the tips of the wheels, and it just lets them wind. So it's like a free T51R mod. Sounds super cool. Really like that. Definitely need some more playing with the fuel tables. I've basically just been letting it idle and doing some other stuff. I need to get it into like the learning mode. It seems like it's only like learning around the idle. As soon as you rev it, it's not doing anything else. Also, I put in that Duramax like 3.3 bar map sensor, and I'm not sure if it's scaled correctly. I haven't been able to find any data online for it yet. Kind of wiring things and moving stuff around and, you know, get a good heat cycle in it. I also hooked up the radiator fan just temporarily. I hooked it basically to the battery when it was running. It seems like it's cooling it off pretty good. I let it get up to 230 degrees. It brought it all the way down to 175 just idling here. So that was pretty cool to see that. I put a 160 degree thermostat in it as well. Everything seems okay other than the fact that it pretty much just needs tuned, and you know, we got to put some interior in it. We need to figure out a fuel gauge. We need to figure out a bunch of things. So if you guys didn't know already, race week already started today, which is Saturday, and it is almost midnight again for me just messing with this thing just a little bit. It's absolutely insane how much time you could have just doing this. We could set this thing on the ground too. It looks pretty cool sitting down. Needs to get lowered in the rear. Yeah, lots more things to mess with. The seat situation, the harness situation. I haven't even driven it yet. I haven't even tried to put it in gear, see if it moves. A bunch of little things. So we're just figuring it out as we go. All right, boys, so mounted a seat in here real quick, rolled down the windows. I think we gotta give this a slam because the cage, yep. Uh-oh, fender stuck now. So yeah, we might have to cut out a little. Uh-oh, we might have to cut out more than I thought. Okay, we got a little room now. So, fire this boy up. We're gonna see if it goes into reverse. I haven't actually driven this thing or done anything with it. I was just gonna back it outside, let it idle and do some other things. All right, reverse. All right, guys, so just got back from essentially the first drive, cruising up and down the street a little bit, kind of had the Holly on the learn table, letting it kind of dial in a little bit of the fuel. And I think I hit about 7 pounds of boost, and this thing freaking rips. Like the way that it feels coming into boost is just awesome. And like only hitting 8 pounds at like 30% throttle feels really good, and it gets me really excited to see what this thing's gonna do on like 15 pounds when we actually go full throttle and let this thing eat when we're at the track or on the street or whenever. So need to dial in some of the tuning. One of the things right now that I need to fix is it actually has a little bit of toe in, because with the SN95 front knuckles and then the Foxbody manual rack, the tie rod ends aren't long enough. So there's probably about 1/2 inch at least of toe in, and that's about as far as I'm comfortable with extending them out before we're kind of getting in the danger zone as far as not having enough threads. I think I'm gonna go tomorrow or early in the morning to O'Reilly's, see if they have some off of a Taurus that will work. I do want to get some outside clips of this thing cruising down the street, see what it sounds like, and I also would like to pull another data log because I wasn't actually recording on that run, or I didn't know how to do the data log stuff. I was just gonna drive it up the street, and then it turned into driving a little bit more. But yeah, air fuels and everything looked pretty good when I was rolling into it. So now Jamie's here. How you doing?
Happy Father's Day.
Jamie hasn't really seen me a whole lot this week because I've been down here, so she brought the kids down. They've been hanging out in here. And hey, uh-oh, look at them. Hey, those are some nice shirts. Uh-oh. Wait, oh, she biffed it. She's still going. So Jamie's gonna get a little video of this thing driving down the street, and I'm gonna pull another day log.
Zay.
Oh my God! Daddy, no!
Kenzie say, go, Daddy, go. Where'd he go?
That's too fast.
Daddy goes fast, huh? Is that fast?
Yeah. Go, Daddy, go!
Just like that, baby.
Where did I put
Do all this right here, baby.
this?
Yeah.
Why is there blue stuff on it? Like this much?
Get it again. Like this one. There? Push it like that, okay? No, you gotta rub them all, okay? Like this.
Yeah.
Get here, use both hands. Grab right there and right there. Okay, you see this one?
Daddy, high five.
So like I said, I almost ran this thing out of fuel earlier. I don't want to do that again, especially on this trip. Got this fuel gauge right here. This is just one from the parts store. And this yellow wire right here is actually coming from the sending unit in the tank. That wire right there runs over here all the way along. So I have this little power probe right here. These things are phenomenal for working on stuff, especially when you're trying to diagnose stuff or doing things like this. So the cool thing is it has a little lead that comes off of it, so that you can either check continuity with this thing, or you could give something a ground. Obviously this thing needs power and ground, and then give it power. And then watch, check this out. There she goes. Yeah, boys, there we go. We have a fuel gauge now. It was like 30 bucks, and it says that it works for a Ford and Chrysler. When empty, must read 73 ohms. When full, must read 10 ohms. So that actually works, but like I said, we ran it out of fuel. I put 5 gallons in it, and it makes sense that it's about a quarter of a tank. It's probably about a 20-gallon fuel stub. I'm gonna get that thing wired up and put in the car. Put the dash in it so we could kind of see some mock-up stuff for where I kind of either want to put like the headlight switch, the little Terminator X, the little dash thing. I think I'm probably just gonna put that right there. I might just set the OEM gauge cluster back in here so there's not just like a big empty space in the dash, because I don't mind how those look. They actually look pretty decent. It fit around the cage pretty well. You can see just had to cut a little bit out of where this speaker was. The support that actually goes for like the glove box and all that other stuff is actually, I don't know if that thing will go in there or not. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that thing will go in there. I'd probably actually have to pull the dash back out, put that in. I was debating on removing the Terminator X because it's actually up underneath the dash back there. The bracket that they sent is actually meant to go right here on the floor, but it would be kind of nice to just have it back underneath the dash and away from all the elements, and you know, let's say it's just probably less dusty right there. I think the reason why this swap took a little bit longer than we thought was because we weren't thinking about doing a roll cage. We weren't thinking about gutting the interior. It was just like, oh, we're gonna put an LS and a Foxbody, and we have everything, and that's why we thought that this was super realistic to get this done in our timeline. And then everything just really escalated, like the quality of everything escalated. The guy's gonna pull out the MIG welder, you know, weld some stuff, you know, over here, you know, make this whole exhaust work. We brought in Garrett, and then we just made this exhaust super nice. So you could see, you know, we got the crossover pipe This one goes down, swoops around, and then straight back up into this V-band housing right here. We have this nice bracket. We have this custom alternator tensioner right here, so we can run just the alternator only. And that gives us plenty of room on this side of the engine for radiator hoses, the intercooler piping, IAT bung, whereas there would normally be either AC compressor or alternator right here. You know, as far as packaging goes, this engine bay looks really good. I'm really proud of it. I think I actually almost blew it up earlier. I was looking on the data log and it hit 30 pounds of boost when I kind of rolled into it and then let out of it that one time. What was happening is actually on this Garrett wastegate, there is, you can see this is a port on the top and then the one right there, which we're just letting that vent. But this one right here is my wastegate feed. So this goes to the bottom of the gate and that actually pushes the diaphragm up and releases that valve to control how much exhaust is flowing past to the turbine to control the boost. There is a fitting in the front, fitting right there, and I didn't realize it, but there was actually another fitting that was open right here on the back that I did not have on because we had the wastegate already on here, so I didn't see it. Most wastegates only have two. The wastegate would have never opened, and it didn't because it hit like 30 pounds. So engine seems fine. Everything should be good with that. The fueling seemed okay up there, even though it hit it. It basically rolled into it, spiked super quick, and I just let out of it right away. So hopefully everything is good with that. But now it should technically have a 14.5 pound wastegate spring in it, and that's pretty much all we're gonna run for this trip. And then I actually have a Holley boost solenoid as well, where we could add some pressure to the top of the gate, and let's say we want to run like 20 pounds or something like that. But this thing sounds absolutely insane. It sounds so cool. V8's just hit completely different on boost. Like, I mean, obviously I'm a big Honda guy. My Civic makes 900 horsepower, but to do that, it's 40 pounds of boost. My Supra, 30 pounds of boost, you know, and it sounds sick and it revs super high. And but a V8, you're basically taking a turbo 4-cylinder or turbo 6-cylinder equivalent NA and adding a turbo to it. So there's a reason why, you know, everybody says there's no replacement for displacement. You just need to go drive something with a turbo V8 in it because it hits different. So pretty stoked on how this car is turning out. We did put the stickers on it, on this side at least. Need to set some ride height things, put some more trim on it, and we're just kind of plugging away on it now that we have one full day left to work on this car now to make it to Bandamere, which technically I don't even know if they're going to allow me to join in and kind of continue throughout the rest of the week. Obviously I won't be doing it for points or anything like that, basically just doing it for fun. So I need to talk to Matt, the owner. He's been super busy with the event, so he hasn't been able to get back to me yet. We need to see if we'll even be able to essentially take this thing to race week. Will still probably be a good, you know, 1,000 or 1,300 mile journey. Yeah, I'm gonna keep plugging away on this thing and keep you guys updated. All right, guys, so it's been a few hours. I'm a bad YouTuber. As I said I was gonna film it and I didn't do it. We got it done. We got it wired. Kind of show you guys a little bit what I did. So there is a wiring harness coming from the back that goes to the back tail lights, blinkers, license plate lights, running lights, all that type of stuff. Right here I have a universal headlight switch. The lights won't stay on unless the keys are on. So you can see we have license plate light. This one was working a little bit ago, but license plate lights, regular lights, those are the high beams. We have low beams. We have blinkers. Check this out too. So we have a fuel level gauge that is hooked up, and then when we turn on the lights, that light turns on. And then we wired the radiator fan to a auxiliary out of the, basically a switched ground out of the ECU. Out of that, it triggers a relay, so it'll get full power to the auxiliary fan, and I don't have to be twisting wires together to go drive this thing. Also, I added a quick little 12 volt thing, or a dual 12 volt like charging port, so that way, you know, on the road we could charge phones and radar detectors and things like that. Pretty stoked on how it turned out. I mean, to think that like this was the amount of stuff I've spent like another day and a half on this car, and I feel like now it's finally almost ready to go, but we still need to tune it. So tuning is getting a little bit more dialed in, it seems like, but I did switch over to a GM. It's a 3.3 bar map sensor. It's technically out of a Duramax. I guess they don't really like reading vacuum that much, and they're not really like a linear scale. And so it seemed like it was just kind of doing some weird things to me. Also, I haven't been super familiar with the Holley Terminator program, or the Holley just the EFI. Took me a little while of actually like, okay, I want to do this thing, search it. Okay, now I know how to do that. Okay, I want to do this, search it. Now I know how to do that. That's pretty much all it was. Even like the first night, I called James because I was like, I've never loaded a tune in a Holly before. What do you do? And he just told me a couple things. And since then, I've just read through the manual. Pretty much the manual tells you everything you need to know. Hopefully, the guy that's running Rocky Mountain Race Week gets back with me tomorrow and will let me know if we can actually run this thing at the track. If not, technically, this Friday will be the first time we take it to the track. I'll take it to the track no matter what this week, whether we take it on race week or not. But the goal is to finish out race week. So Bandimere, Pueblo. I'll actually be driving this thing a decent amount if everything works out and we get her done. And I have a whole other list of things that we need to do to this thing tomorrow. If you guys are stoked on this project, if you guys are stoked on how Old Duke turned out, I'm really, really proud of what we were able to accomplish in such a short amount of time. And a huge shout out to all of the sponsors that came through last minute and worked with me on this build. I think it looks good. I think this is a great representation of what we could do in the new shop, hopefully with a little bit more time next time. That's gonna be it, guys. Oh, I didn't show you guys how I did the blinkers. I'll show you guys that in the next one. I'm tired. Time to go to bed. See you later.